the Shiv Sena.
Okay, all right. Arunil, thank you for joining us with those details. Those were the updates from Maharashtra. But of course, the big story of the day is the vindication that Prime Minister Modi had today from the top court of the country. But the question is, who wanted to keep the pot boiling, as the Supreme Court put it? Over to Editor-in-Chief, Rahul Shivshankar.
Thanks indeed, Pratibha. Yes, that's the big story, viewers, even as the crisis in Maharashtra unfolds in the background, and we are going to catch up with that in about 25 minutes or so. But at the top of the hour, 8 p.m. tonight on India Upfront, after a 14-year-long inquisition or trial by fire, Modi, viewers, stands vindicated. For 14 years, he has had to answer to a plea that a 3-judge bench of the Apex Court said was devoid of merit. Yes, devoid of merit. Indeed, the Supreme Court has finally seen the light of the truth. You may ask, what's new? We know that Modi is innocent of any alleged role in the Gujarat riots. Why are you giving us stale news? You'll ask me that question. Well, two things. I bet, viewers, you didn't know that Narendra Modi was being framed in the Gujarat riot cases. Framed. These allegations that were made against him didn't just appear out of a sense of fighting for justice. In fact, there was, to quote the Supreme Court, an ulterior design. Not my words, the Supreme Court bench's words. An ulterior design. To do what? To entrap Modi. That Zakia Jafri, who lost her husband, a Congress member of Parliament, in the Gulberg Society massacre, was actually an instrument in the hands of some people who, to quote the Supreme Court once again, wanted to keep the pot boiling. The idea, it appears, was that the matter could be stretched out so that Modi's political opponents could stall him from becoming the Prime Minister, and if they could help it, even get him jailed or worse. Now, viewers, that is pretty diabolical. What you also didn't probably factor in was this chilling fact that had what the Supreme Court bench called, quote, devious stratagem, unquote, succeeded, Modi would have been sentenced to death for allegedly instructing the police forces to stand down while Hindus and Muslims clashed and killed each other. Viewers, he was charged with capital offenses. Now, when there is miscarriage of justice in any part of this country, when people, for example, are arrested in terror plots, a whole number of people hit the streets saying that this is a vendetta campaign. But here, viewers, a chief minister was being framed in a case in which he could have hanged. And that case was devoid of merit, as we have now discovered. In fact, the Supreme Court is so outraged at the audacity of it all that it has recommended action against the League, many drawn from the Latvian set. You're very familiar with that Latvian set. Here's what the Supreme Court has said. Let me quote it to the last letter. All those involved in such abuse of process need to be in the dock and proceeded with in accordance with the law, unquote. The abuse of due process is being invoked by the Supreme Court for a justifiable reason. The Supreme Court said that the petitioner's arguments were, quote, far-fetched and an attempt to undo and undermine the industry of the SIT in investigating the cases, unquote. Now, viewers, this is also very serious. The SIT was set up by the Supreme Court. This entire probe was being monitored by the Supreme Court. Now, if you were trying to undermine the agency of the SIT, in code words, viewers, that means trying to dictate to the SIT, trying to sabotage the workings of the SIT, or perhaps even lean on the SIT. Viewers, you were actually influencing the due process of law. That is a very serious offense. The Supreme Court also says that these attempts were bordering on, quote, undermining the integrity and sincerity, unquote, of the SIT members. And most of the content in the plea was biased on versions of others which have been found to be replete with falsehoods, unquote. Viewers, this has not been known before. This is all new. And we have with us, viewers, to discuss this entire matter, Dr. Sambit Patra, National Spokesperson of the BJP, Madhu Kishwar, founder of the Manushi, Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, Vivek Srivastava, a member of the left, a political analyst. The left was, of course, in the forefront of trying to jail Narendra Modi and presumably have him sentenced to death while they were at it. We also have with us Mr. Mahesh Jethmalani, who's fought aspects of these cases for Narendra Modi. Now, I want to first begin with Mr. Jethmalani. First straight question. The Supreme Court says, Mr. Jethmalani, that those behind the devious stratagem, not my words, a phrase that I'm quoting straight out of the judgment, need to be put into the dock. And I'm quoting the Supreme Court here exactly. Mr. Jethmalani, is there concrete proof to suggest that the people can be tried for framing Prime Minister Modi? I want to ask you this.
Well, I mean, look, there are the people who actually lied in respect of the alleged conspiracy to foment the riots. Those are Sri Kumar and, Sanjeev Bhatt and Rahul Sharma. They have clearly perjured themselves because they made statements on oath and they made them before public servants to falsely implicate. So there's, in view of the Supreme Court findings now, there's a cast iron case against them. And they should be prosecuted, all these people. I mean, some of them are already, being punished for various other crimes, planting narcotics on a lawyer, and also for some extraneous murder,
right.
a custodial death. So, but the message has to be sent. Given the findings of the Supreme Court, there has to be a deterrent for this kind of thing. And Rahul, it's happening continuously. There's a tendentious false narrative on every issue. There is such a hostility towards our present Prime Minister that the falsehoods have to stop. And this was one of the worst falsehoods because there was an attempt to charge Mr. Modi with a capital offense, an offense which is punishable with death, in as much as he had conspired with others at that so-called meeting of 27th February, right, to foment riots and instigate Hindus to kill Muslims in retaliation for Godhra. A very serious charge, a very false charge, and built on a foundation of sand, as we've now discovered, that every witness who deposed in that case against Mr. Modi. A, they were belated, their evidence was belated. In the case of Sanjeev Bhatt, as you probably noticed in the judgment, after 9 years. And B, they were found to be manifestly false.
Now,
the meeting of 27th February, at which Sanjeev Bhatt was supposed to be present.
Yes.
10 other people and all high-ranking police officers and bureaucrats said he was never present. What can be a more damning indictment? It's about time. I mean, I've been waiting for this day. As it is, Teesta Setalvad faces serious charges.
No,
now, she's, of course, very conveniently manipulated things, including Zakia, from behind the scenes, at the behest of the Congress party and some very high functionaries of the Congress party. I make so bold to say that. I can establish this.
You can establish. No. Hang on. This is very important. Let's take this forward. While you speak about Gujarat government officials, I spoke to R.K. Raghavan, the chief of the SIT. Same SIT, viewers, that the Supreme Court said was being in some way or the other undermined. Now, that is direct interference in due process of the law. And I spoke to R.K. Raghavan, the chief of the SIT, and he talked about the pressure from ministers at the center. So we are talking about the UPA era, Mahesh Jethmalani, and you are saying you have proof. What have you done with it?
Well, the ministers of the centre were two lawyers, in fact, but I'm sure that they got the two minister lawyers. I'm not going to give their names right now.
Okay.
Because one of them is even a friend. But the fact of the matter is they fomented this whole thing. Whose hand was on Teesta settlement? And the same band of lawyers in the Supreme Court, right, till today continue to foment tendentious narratives, slanted half-truths against Modi on a number of other issues. Whether it is Rafale, whether it is on the farmers' case, whether it is on now Agneepath. There's a false narrative and an attempt to inflame a cauldron against Mr. Modi.
Okay.
You know the security issues, it's a very serious threat.
No.
I mean, look at the security issue that took place in Punjab.
I understand that. I understand that. Let me open this up. Stay on with me. Let me open this up. Tehseen Poonawalla, Dr. Patra. I want to bring you into this. This is very important. This is a very, very important story, viewers. Now, Tehseen Poonawalla, what is the court saying? And I'm talking about the Supreme Court. And I know that some of those who support you and are part of your ecosystem today are suggesting that the courts have been suborned. It's scandalous, absolutely scandalous. But I want to come to you, Mr. Poonawalla, and I want to ask you, this was contrived to keep the pot boiling, to build animosity between communities, to suggest that some person was being perhaps soft-pedaled, to suggest that one particular party had some sort of diabolical design against or view on the Muslims, to also suggest that the putative Prime Minister was some sort of hateful Islamophobe. This is very serious. Tehseen Poonawalla, this is very serious. And some of the people that the Supreme Court has mentioned, Mr. Bhatt, you gave them tickets. You rewarded them.
Good evening, Rahul. Thank you so much for having me on your show. Good evening to all my fellow panelists and good evening to all your viewers. At the onset, we all have to bow before the majesty of the Supreme Court, which we do. But there are a few points that I want to raise, and I do not concur with this judgment with respect to the Honorable Supreme Court. What you are essentially saying, Rahul, is nobody killed Ehsan Jafri, just like nobody killed Hiren Pandya, except that there was a call made by Ehsan Jafri to the then Chief Minister of Gujarat asking for police protection to come and save his life, which never turned up. The Gujarat police never turned up. But hey, nobody killed Ehsan Jafri, nobody killed Hiren Pandya. Let's come to the second part.
That's wrong.
May I please make my point?
No, on that point, before you see, we are hauled up for contempt. The channel I'm talking about. Because again, you are misrepresenting what the Supreme Court has said. The Supreme Court has also said that those who have been derelict in their duties should be punished. The story here was that a narrative was built, like you are insinuating right now, that a call was made to Narendra Modi and Narendra Modi told the police to stand down. That there is no evidence of. And that is why the Supreme Court has actually named these Gujarat officials. And let me quote what they said. Let me quote what they said. And this is now established. This is said, while parting, we express our appreciation for the indefatigable work done by the SIT officials in challenging circumstances they had to face, and yet we find that they have come out with flying colors unscathed. At the end of the day, it appears that a coalesced effort of disgruntled officials of the state of Gujarat, along with others, was to create sensation by making revelations which were false to their own knowledge. And what was this revelation? That Modi sat with some officials and told them, don't respond. Don't respond.
Okay, may I please now...
So please, the Supreme Court has drawn a distinction between Modi's role and the role of derelict officials. So please,
okay.
If it's a fair point, then don't misrepresent, sir, please.
May I please be allowed to speak? Thank you.
Yeah.
Just hear me out. Even if what you were saying is absolutely true, which is not the complete fact, but let me not go into that. Is it also...
I'm not saying it, the Supreme Court is saying it.
Sir, I request you, please allow me, and I disagree with the judgment, because please allow me to put my point forward, please. Thank you, sir. Is it also a made-up fact that the SIT, which is being praised by the honorable courts before whose majesty we all bow, The same SIT chief was then made, Mr. Raghavan, the ambassador to Cyprus in 2017 by Mr. Narendra Modi, who was investigating. Not one but two SITs investigated Mr. Narendra Modi. Which was the second SIT? Satyapal Singh Ji, where is he today? This IPS officer is now a minister in the Narendra Modi government. Do I have to, shouldn't Caesar should not just be innocent, he should also look to be above innocent. And was it also some sort of a conspiracy by the then Honorable Supreme Court, which moved the trials out of Gujarat, the best bakery trials out of Gujarat, because the Supreme Court said, look, it is difficult to deliver justice in Gujarat. Please allow me to finish. Was it the same Supreme Court conspiracy that said that Nero was fiddling his thumbs, playing the flute while Gujarat was burning? And they said this in written on record in the Supreme Court. And my last point, Mr. Rahul Shivshankar, who killed Ehsan Jafri and Hareen Pandya? If nobody killed them, nobody is held guilty. That's how it works. Nobody killed anybody.
Mr. Poonawala, you're wrong on some accounts. Again, the insinuation is Nero fiddled. Nero fiddled. Did Nero fiddle because he was thinking diabolically or he was caught off guard? Because if it's diabolism, the Supreme Court has bust that claim. He might have been inefficient. He might have been inefficient. But certainly, he wasn't allowing the earth to shake when a big tree was falling. So let me bring in Dr. Patra on this point. Dr. Patra, 2 or 3 questions raised that you rewarded all these officials who gave Modi a clean chit with plum postings, one in Cyprus and another one in your ministry. How do you respond to that?
See, Rahul, first and foremost, as far as the Supreme Court's injunction that there are certain people who want to keep the pot boiling, it's quite evident in the debate as well. I mean, as far as our friends who want to keep the pot boiling, I believe that no amount of debate is going to convince them. They will have their point of view till eternity, and we will have our point of view, which has been supported and vindicated today, validated today by the Supreme Court. Remember, as far as this whole judgment, etc. is concerned, we have gone through 2 courts. We have gone through the courts of people. People, in fact, have validated Mr. Narendra Modi long ago. An umpteen number of times, not just this judgment. Remember, the lower court, the high court, magisterial court, the Supreme Court twice has given clean chit, as the SIT, which was appointed by the Supreme Court, has given clean chit to Narendra Modi. But despite all these clean chits, my good friends, will keep the pot boiling. The 3 very important components of this whole case. Number 1, the design. What the court calls is the ulterior design, a design with ulterior motive. The number 2, who are the designers, whom we call the ecosystem. And number 3, what effect does it have upon the person on whom it was destined to bring bad luck upon whom it was all destined to fall, that is Mr. Narendra Modi. Now, as far as this design is concerned, no doubt about it, that it was a devilious design, the design to keep the man with talent then, that is Mr. Narendra Modi, away from the seat of power, because the first family felt that we are the only ones who should be the Prime Minister, the Presidents, etc. of the country, and that's why they did not want Narendra Modi, a man with talent, to travel anywhere near that, so the design. Number 2, as far as the designers, look at the financial backing, look at the institutional backing these designers had till yesterday. I mean, even today these designers, through their NGOs, through their foreign fundings, through their foreign masters, have backing. And astonishingly, I mean, some of us should raise the issue as to how Teesta Sitalwad used these victims to usurp money. Money which was spent on champagne.
Allegedly.
Money which was spent on sandals.
Allegedly.
Money which was spent on dresses. Allegedly, of course. All this is still allegedly, of course.
So let me ask. No, hang on. Because Mr. Jethmalani was involved in this case. Hang on, let me bring him in. Because Mr. Jethmalani was involved in this case. Mr. Jethmalani, in affidavit submitted by the state of Gujarat itself, Setalwad's name is clearly mentioned. Then why has the Supreme Court chosen not to take any names, especially of those he claims were using Zakia as an instrument? There have also, of course, been probes that have been initiated against her, as Dr. Patra has said. They haven't gone very far. The charge was that this was vendetta, retribution. That is what Poonawala and Mr. Srivastava are going to say next. Can you explain?
But I think without, without using the word, I mean, her name has cropped up in the judgment, right? But without saying so explicitly, I mean, there's almost an irresistible inference that the person who they were talking about when they spoke about somebody, firing from Zakia's shoulders, Mrs. Zakia's shoulders, right, was Tisra Settlement.
Okay. No, hang on. So as I said,
Rahul, I had
no, 1 second. As I said, you have filed, you have moved court. Nothing has come of it.
Her anticipatory bail application matter is still pending. The High Court, but by the way, the High Court judge who decided her anticipatory bail application has now come to the Supreme Court, Justice Pardibala, and he refused her anticipatory bail.
Sure.
And you are mincing your words when you say mismanagement of a trust. It was breach of trust. It was stealing money from riot victims. Those funds which she is stands accused of misappropriating are funds which were raised in the name of the victims of the Gujarat riots. What can be worse? I mean, I don't know. I tell you the other sides, the Congress spin on narratives, or the left spin on narratives, or whatever you call these bunch of tendentious fairy tale makers, right? They get away with so much in the press.
Get away with so much.
But all their sins, there's only a passing reference. Okay. They're never punished for it.
Okay, now hang on.
The Modi government now, it behoves him.
Okay, 1 second. Madhukishwar, any time, and even today, even after the Supreme Court has weighed in the manner it has, we point a finger, we are told that, sorry, you are being vengeful. You are being vengeful, Madhukishwar.
Rahul, the problem is that these people cannot be shamed because they have built a whole political career on the basis of lies. Firstly, let me share with you the malified nature and the devious nature of the original complaint itself. Anybody who knows the ABC of law knows that an FIR in a criminal case has to be filed within a time-bound manner. Now, this complaint by Jafri was filed 4 years after the event. When the event took place, which is the killings and the violence in the Gulbarga society in that neighborhood, that day when she came out, Zakia Jafri, she told the police, it's on camera, her statement, that she and 180 others were saved by the police, while 39 perished. But more importantly, she also admitted that she saw nothing because she and all the women had locked themselves up on the top floor of this building. So they saw nothing really, and she admitted that she and others were rescued by the police. It's also a fact that the police had actually fired outside and 5 among the mobsters were killed. Now 4 years later she comes up, she does not come up with any facts. She comes up with the wildest allegations, and I tell you, I stick my neck out and say, if anybody reads her complaint, which the Supreme Court, not any of the lower courts, not the High Court of Gujarat, they wouldn't entertain it. The Supreme Court of India, with a very pliable judge, Aftab Alam, and the others went along for what reason I don't know. If you read that document on the basis of which, it's the most absurd, ludicrous document. It is ludicrous because in any FIR, if you have to register, you have to either say, this happened at such and such time and I was witness to it, or such and such was witness to it. She brings no witness. She doesn't even bring her own witness because she's admitted she never saw anything. What she says instead, what she files instead, is that 63 persons, including Chief Minister, Deputy Chief Minister, Home Minister, Chief Secretary, and the entire cabinet and top-ranking officers, they should all be booked for riots, as though they were standing outside a house with kerosene canisters and burning. I mean, it's ridiculous. The entire government, top brass, should be... this when she saw nobody, huh? Then not only that, What is the evidence she's offering? As Mahesh just pointed out, the evidence was these two compromised officers, who one of them who's in jail, or perhaps the second one should actually be tried and hung because he was involved in the ISRO sabotage case. Now, one second. She cites their doctor testimonies that they heard Chief Minister say that revenge should be taken. They were not present, it was proven. And the fact of the matter is, she didn't call Chief Minister Modi. Who she called? Himmat Singh Patel, who was the then mayor, a congressman who was the mayor of Ahmedabad, and he was appealing to his party people because Jafri saw many congressmen in the mob. In that mob, it wasn't just BJP workers, it was Hindus, including congressmen and leading congressmen. And he therefore was calling Himmat Singh Patel, and Himmat Singh Patel did not come to his rescue. Not only that, when Sonia Gandhi went to Ahmedabad in May after the riots, she did not even condescend to meet Jafri. And why? Because at that time, Jafri was so angry with Congress party workers who were complicit in this violence. I've documented all this in my book, Modi, Muslims and Media.
Okay. So let me bring in Vivek Srivastava, who is frothing at the mouth.
Why did she not meet Sonia? Because Sonia would have gotten a mouthful from Zakia against her own party member. And it's only 4 years later that this whole fake story is spun.
So I'll tell you, Madhu Kishwar, viewers, is not talking through her hat tonight. Even the Supreme Court has said it. And I have it here, clause 79. Let me read, viewers. In the name of protest petition, appellant, who is Zakia Jafri, was also indirectly questioning the decisions rendered by the courts in other cases, including sub judice matters, for reasons best known to her. She was obviously doing so under dictation of someone. In fact, the sizable contents of the protest petition are founded on affidavits filed by those persons whose versions have been found to be replete with falsehoods. Vivek Srivastava, this is serious. 4 years later, you wake up. Tehseen Poonawalla has the audacity to say, oh, the court is trying to sort of paper over a heinous event by saying no one, trivializing it. Now just look at the way Poonawalla tried to trivialize it, and now look at the way Vivek Srivastava is going to explain away, viewers, what the Supreme Court says was an attempt to snare Modi through a petition which was filed under dictation of someone. He will not admit the Supreme Court. He will question the Supreme Court. Now let's ask him. Vivek Srivastava, simple question.
Yes, Rahul.
Why 4 years later, why was it dictated? Why was it dictated by someone? Who was it?
No, let me speak
if
now.
Not the people that Mr. Jethmalani has mentioned, if not the two officers or maybe even more that the Supreme Court has mentioned. Come on. This is a frame-up.
Okay. Now give me 30 seconds and please don't interrupt me. First of all, I congratulate you on giving a clean sheet. Let us all praise Mr. Modi for the riots that happened in Gujarat. Let us all praise Mr. Modi that thousands of Muslims were actually butchered. Let's praise him. Let us say he was a good chief minister.
Don't trivialize this matter, please. Don't. I'm sorry to use this word. I will not engage this conversation. This is ridiculous. Vivek Srivastava, you have a habit of trivializing the most serious matters because I think you don't understand the gravity of things, and I think I make a mistake by giving you a platform. So, if you can't be constructive, I'm going to ask you to leave this. No, I'm going to ask you to leave. Excuse me, sir. All you want to do, all you want to do is to abuse people. All you want to do is to try and suggest that people are trivializing things. This is not the way. Vivek Srivastava, this is not JNU Square, where people like you will stand and pass all sorts of judgments on other people. No, I'm not engaging you. I'm lowering your fader. I'm counting till 3. If you don't keep quiet and if you don't answer to the point. So I'll give you another opportunity. 1, 2, 3.
No.
Now I'm asking you, sir, was this not a frame-up? Was this not a frame-up?
No, I want to ask you first, Rahul, did the riots happen or not?
Are you out of your mind? Listen, shut him down. He's just a waste of time. Shut him down. Ask him to go. Please. Please leave, sir. You have no idea of how to debate on a panel. You are completely incorrigible. You are trivializing a matter. Everyone has said the riots have happened. The Supreme Court has said that people who have actually been completely derelict should be punished. They've also said, the Supreme Court justices, 3 judge bench viewers, has also come out and said very clearly that, look, those people who have construed a narrative out of thin air need to also be put in the dock. If you ask people like Vivek Srivastava this question, they throw it back at you in the most incorrigible manner, and that cannot be tolerated. Sorry. No one here suggests that this tragedy didn't happen. Neither has Madhu Kishwar said that. Now, Tehseen Poonawalla, I'm coming back.
I have said that congressmen instigated the riots.
Well,
I say it and I repeat it. I have written it in my book that congressmen instigated the riots, including the Godhra train.
Well, let me bring in Tehseen Poonawalla. Tehseen Poonawalla, look,
that's a fact.
In the Sikh riots, it was said that RSS men were involved. Today, if Madam Kishwar says that, look, there were people in the crowd that belonged to the Congress party, and Mr. Jafri was stunned to see that, and Mrs. Jafri perhaps was aware of this fact. No one is denying that there were riots. We have a different problem here. The question that is coming up here is that Modi was being framed, and that is a serious one.
All right. Even if I were to go by your hypothesis, Rahul, that Mr. Modi was being framed.
I am not saying it. Supreme Court is saying it.
And the judgment, please allow me to say, and the judgment of the Honorable Supreme Court.
Yeah, stick to the judgment of the Supreme Court, not what I have said. I've only quoted out of the Supreme Court, sir. Please, don't put me in this.
And I respect that.
Yeah.
Now, please, may I make my point?
Yeah, please.
Did anybody in this so-called echo chamber put the following words in Mr. Modi's mouth, that when he went to the riot, where the riot victims are displaced, he spoke about Muslims as bacha paida karne ki factory, and therefore he again made the atmosphere unconducive to peace. Did anyone do that? Did anyone ask Mr. Modi, the ecosystem, that the bodies of the car savaks that were burnt in that coach should be paraded in Ahmedabad, should be taken in open baskets so that people get charged up? Was that done? How was the bodies
Dr.
taken?
Patra.
Why were those bodies taken? May I make one more submission before I finish? I repeat my question, Dr. Patra. One second, please, ma'am. Why did the Supreme Court shift the cases out of Gujarat into Maharashtra and say justice is not being delivered here? Can you please answer that question? Was that not the administration of Mr. Modi?
Was in power at that time.
Oh, so the Supreme Court listens to the government of the time. So by your logic, Ms. Kishwar, is the Supreme Court today responding to the government
Under
of the time?
UPA, Supreme Court was very pliable.
And this government is not content.
Okay, Dr. Patra, respond please.
Extremely pliable.
At a political level, please respond. Dr. Patra, some questions that are being asked of Tehseen Poonawalla, by Tehseen Poonawalla.
See, I'm so sad about Teesta Sitalwat today. Teesta should have hired our good friend Tehseen Poonawalla to contest this case. She probably lost the case because there was no Tehseen Poonawalla in the Supreme Court. His presence only might have added some credibility to the whole case. So as I mentioned in the beginning itself, Rahul, that you cannot debate this issue with people who are not ready to believe and call this whole judgment, whole verdict as a hypothetical judgment, hypothetical verdict. How can I debate with this? How can I have a debate with Tehseen when he does not believe all this to be true when he says this is hypothetical? What I'm proud of today is the institutions of India. Well, it may be late, but after the due course of time, what has emerged out of the highest institution of India, the highest judicial institution of India, is the truth which we all are made to be aware of today. It's not that people did not know. And that's the reason as to why Modi won election after election after election. Because people knew very well that Mr. Modi was not responsible for whatever happened in Gujarat in 2002, number one. And I'm proud of Mr. Modi.
Well,
look at the comparison. For 20 long years, here is a man who's silently, courageously, transparently showing complete faith in the system, faced the trial, not asking anyone to burn tires outside the ED office, not asking anyone to burn tires outside the SIT office, not calling a single BJP Karyakarta and saying break loose mayhem across the country because I have been asked questions in SIT. No. This is the true quality of a leader.
Okay.
You have to have complete faith in the system. You do not break the constitution, which Mr. Modi did.
Okay, look, viewers, the point is that at some point, one has to begin to trust in the only verdict that matters, which is the Supreme Court. That's where we are at. There's another person, viewers, who had a ringside view of this entire case, perhaps the most informed view. His name is R.K. Raghavan. He was a former CBI director appointed by the Supreme Court to head the SIT into this particular case and others. He also stands vindicated because many people said, like Tehseen Poonawalla began this show by saying, oh, he was rewarded, as if he knew that Modi would be Prime Minister, as if he knew that at one day he was going to be made some envoy to some small republic somewhere. Viewers, he now spoke to me. And he says a few things that will also shock you. Listen in. R.K. Raghavan speaks to Times Now, speaks to me. Let's go straight across to him. Mr. Raghavan, thank you for speaking to Times Now. The Supreme Court has validated the findings of the SIT team that was led by you to look into this entire matter, especially the alleged role of Narendra Modi. And the Supreme Court, after looking into your report, has been very scathing in its criticism of your detractors who cast an aspersion on your integrity. How do you respond to today's judgment?
Yeah, without being immodest, I was expecting this kind of a ruling. I'm quite satisfied that the Supreme Court went into the evidence that I proffered before the court and found it very convincing and credible, and also found out how certain elements were trying to pull me down, attack me personally, and also because they possibly had a political agenda. So we did not yield to any of those pressures. I'm happy. I don't take credit to myself. I had a wonderful team led by Ashok Malhotra and several others. They stood by me like a rock, and they went into the nitty-gritty, clinically analyzed whatever evidence that could come in, and that's why we produced the report, and we are happy that the highest court of the land upheld our stand.
Well, that's very creditable of you to be also complimenting your colleagues, and you clearly are feeling vindicated. Mr. Raghavan, do you believe then, therefore, that there was a motivated lobby of individuals and politicians who were seeking to poke holes into your investigation? The Supreme Court refers to them as, and I quote the Supreme Court, protagonists of quest for justice sitting in air-conditioned offices. Why do you think the Supreme Court called them protagonists of quest for justice sitting in air-conditioned offices? People who were devious by design.
Yeah, I'm not used to naming names. I knew who they were. And in my report, possibly, I did mention a few of them who are trying to pull me down all the time, casting motives, attributing all kinds of things, including a man who was guiding them from Delhi and who almost became a judge of the Supreme Court. Fortunately, the government woke up and the Supreme Court woke up and ensure that this man did not become a judge of the Supreme Court.
Well, so you're alluding to a judge of the Supreme Court who was guiding this entire set of conspirators. Loose term obviously is Lutyens' lobby. Now, sir, would you like to name, I'm asking you, would you like to name these persons who are targeting you? You mentioned a few in your book, but not in such clear terms. Who at the center? Who was this judge, sir?
No, particularly the gentleman, I am at the evening of my life, probably even twilight of my life. So I don't want to go to court, and this man can do me a lot of harm, and he can throw mud at me. Unfortunately, he is a person whom I had known earlier very well, and still he chose to spread canards about me. It was very painful, but I didn't mind, because there is not a grain of truth in what he said and about me and my connection to Mr. Modi.
Well, that is scandalous. That is scandalous. And you obviously, sir, now want to leave this entire episode behind you. But the Supreme Court said that the petitioner, Zakia Jafri, was in a sense dictated to. Now, let me just quote the Supreme Court. Obviously, at the dictation of someone is the Supreme Court's reference to Zakia Jafri's petition. Who do you think the court is alluding to, sir?
No, those who were in power at the center in those days. I've mentioned this clearly in my autobiography, The Road Well Traveled, that was released a couple of years ago. In that I had mentioned a few personalities. I don't know whether I named, my memory may trip me off, but I've clearly said those who are in Delhi, they are trying to malign me, to make sure that I didn't get at the truth. And so this is painful, but in retrospect I'm happy that I stood up to the challenge and I did not wilt. I must also state here that nobody dared to approach me directly to do this or that. I was left absolutely alone, severely alone, to do what I wanted and state what was revealed in my investigation.
But there was pressure. There was pressure to fix Narendra Modi. Sensational revelations by R.K. Raghavan this evening. Obviously, he stands vindicated by the court. Now, Mr. Raghavan, the likes of R.B. Srikumar, Sanjeev Bhatt, both former police officers, said that Modi held a meeting. They said Modi held a meeting telling officials to allow rioters to vent their anger. Now, I want to ask you, why do you think that you became convinced of Modi's innocence in these riots and felt that these charges were false? And why do you think that this wasn't also accepted by the court?
No, I'll tell you. That's something concrete about that significant meeting. We checked, we examined everyone who was known to have been present. There are some people, I mean, there was imaginations running right, so-and-so was present, so-and-so did this and all that. We examined everyone was present at that said meeting, and nobody confirmed that Mr. Modi ever said this or that. So when I had such evidence, could I have taken Mr. Modi to court? That would have been falsehood, and egg would have been on my face. And so late in my career, and after having been chosen by no less than the Supreme Court of India, could I have padded up evidence? So the evidence we picked up clearly was that nothing of that kind was said by Mr. Modi, and so it's not a question of benefit or doubt. Clearly, no one ever told us that Mr. Modi said this or that. So when that is the case, I was very clear. I've never tense. I was very relaxed, And then, I mean, it may not be very appropriate to say this at the time. I used to go to the temple near the SIT office in the cantonment. There is a Lord Hanuman temple. Every Tuesday I used to go there and pray for courage and strength. And Lord Hanuman gave me this. And it may be, this reference to Lord Hanuman may, some people may consider it inappropriate, but I am bold. I am very bold. He is my favorite deity, and I derive a lot of courage. I just used to sit and meditate, and this gave me courage, and I didn't wilt. Nobody could threaten me to say and do this or that.
Well, yes, in today's day and age, if you say you're a Hanuman Bhakt, then you sing or chant the Hanuman Chalisa, it can land you in trouble, Mr. Raghavan. So, well, but let's get back to this. Mr. Modi appeared before the SIT led by you. Now, what was about his responses that convince you of his innocence?
Yeah, I'll tell you. Here again, as a professional police officer, I stayed away from that interrogation because as head of the SIT, I should not have been present. I deputed my DIG, a priceless officer called Ashok Malhotra. I asked him. He went there. Actually, I mean, ironically, the whole interrogation took place in my chamber, and some eyebrows are raised as to why I wasn't present. It is a deliberate decision which was upheld by very many legal luminaries, because whatever Mr. Modi told us at that time would have been sullied if I had been present. They would have said that I just padded up things. So he came and we examined. I debriefed Malhotra. He clearly told me nothing of that kind emerged, and that Mr. Modi went very clear. There was nothing against him which we could have pinned on to him. So I'm convinced.
You're convinced. But Mr. Raghavan, what cannot be denied is that more than 1,000 people died. Now, this was a terrible human tragedy. Thousands more were injured. There was terrible loss of life and livelihood. And the riots were widespread. Therefore, the question that one wants to ask, could this have been possible? Could the spread have been so widespread without clear complicity of some elements of the state or political hand?
I'm not competent to comment on that. You remember, we were given 9 cases by the Supreme Court of India. One was probably still under investigation. One failed in court. It was doomed to fail because it appeared the incident occurred late in the evening, a wayside village. We knew it was doomed to fail. We tried our best. We couldn't. In all the other 7 cases, we got enough evidence to prosecute people, and many were convicted. So I'm satisfied that we did justice in these 7 cases. 9 cases probably still in court. I am not competent. It's not proper on my part to mention that. So I'm convinced that there is no evidence whatsoever against Mr. Modi, and my conscience is clear. And so late in the day, when I've went a few months or years to reunite with the divine forces, Almighty, my conscience is clear. And I've said that in my autobiography called The Road Well Traveled. Westland Publishers did that.
Well, viewers, that was Mr. Raghavan. And now we're switching stories to the other big story that's been playing out even as we speak. Viewers, after Sam and Dam, persuasion and incentive failed, the Shiv Sainiks are now resorting to dar and dund, intimidation and punishment. Uddhav made an emotional pitch of Sena and to the Shinde Sena, and said that Thackeray is synonymous with the Shiv Sena. Then his loyalist Sanjay Rao threatened a street fight, and now they pulled out the trump card, violence and vandalism. Uddhav Sena hit the streets against rebel MLAs, defacing their banners, vandalizing their offices. They chanted in support of the Thackeray Parivar and sent a dire warning. No mercy for traitors. Listen in.
काही जणांचे मला फोन आले, आजही येत आहेत, की उद्धवजी तुम्ही वर्षा सोडायला नाही पाहिजे होतं. म्हटलं का? नाही, लोकांना असं वाटतं तुम्ही जिद्द सोडली. म्हटलं मी जिद्द सोडणाऱ्यातला नाहीये, मी मोह सोडला पण जिद्द नाही सोडणार मी कधी, कदापि जिद्द नाही सोडणार. काही आमदार त्या दिवशी हो हो साहेब तापलो तरी जाणार नाही, आता हे न कापता तिकडे गेले, तो भाग वेगळा, तापलो तरी जाणार नाही, पण हा न कापता काही लोक आपल्यातनं गेले, ठीक आहे जायचं तर जाऊ द्या. ही गोष्ट साधारणतः वर्ष 6 महिने माझ्या लक्षात आली होती. लोकांना पैसे वाटले जात होते. हे आता मी काही टिश्यू लावते काय रडत बिडत नाहीये, मला कोविडमुळे जरा डोळ्यातून थोडं पाणी तर नाक कधीतरी गळते, नाहीतर उद्धव ठाकरेंना झाले अश्रू आल्यावर, तर तसं काही नाहीये बाबा.
हम हार मानने वाले नहीं, हम जीतेंगे, फ्लोर ऑफ द हाउस पर जीतेंगे. अगर लड़ाई सड़क पर हो गई तो वहां भी जीतेंगे. जिसको हमारा सामना करना है मुंबई में आ सकते हैं. बहुत ही गलत कदम उठाया है लोगों ने, उनको हमने मौका भी दिया वापस आने का. अब मुझे लगता है टाइम निकल चुका है, पूरी तैयारी है, आप आइए. अब हमारा चैलेंज कहा ना, ये कानून की लड़ाई है, कानून से होगी. रास्ते की लड़ाई रास्ते पर सड़क पर हो सकती है, हो जाएगी. अब तक शिवसैनिक सड़क पर नहीं उतरे हैं, चाहे कितने भी लोगों को आप खरीद लो, दबाव डालो, लेकिन कानून की लड़ाई, कागज़ की लड़ाई और सड़क की लड़ाई, दोनों में हम जीत जाएंगे.
Well, also news coming in, viewers, that legal opinion is being sought now by Uddhav Thackeray and his camp. Maharashtra's AG Attorney General has been called by Uddhav Thackeray and his government, or whatever is left of it, to determine the strategy ahead. Now, I want to open this up because at one level, the strategy seems to take this battle to the street. We've just heard Sanjay Raut say so. Kishore Tiwari, you have lost your MLAs. There is no doubt about that. Uddhav Thackeray has accepted it. Sanjay Raut has also accepted it. Now, to win them back, you don't have anything beyond violence. अब उनको पीटेंगे आप for leaving, and you talk about democracy, sir. Words failed, emotions failed. They don't trust you anymore. So what do? You thrash them?
Arnav, this is nothing like that. They are a Shivsainik, but the effect of the ED has took them to Guwahati. But we will take the issue to the public. That was the meaning of his sentence. That we will fight
No.
public.
What you are doing is on the screen. You are beginning to vandalize people's store. This is an old trick. It's a toolkit. It's a toolkit, sir. Mr. Tiwari, it's a toolkit. It's a toolkit.
Rahul,
it's a toolkit.
These are common people. These are common people who are annoyed with this Gaddar
No, sir.
MLAs
Sanjay
who
Raut
are
clearly said, we've made arrangements. We've made arrangements. Sadak ki ladai ab sadak pe ladenge. He said so. Come on.
The people will fight the ladai and
people will fight. Varun Singh. Varun Singh.
Who made an arrangement?
First of all, let me tell you, Rahul, I'm very surprised that this is happening so late. It also is a message. It also is an indication. You know, the Shiv Sena that I have known for the last 15, 16 years, I have known Shiv Sena more than Kishore ji, because Kishore ji joined Shiv Sena अभी कुछ साल पहले ही आपने join किया किशोर जी, उसके पहले आप बहुत काम करते थे विदर्भ में. But you know, let me tell you, the Shiv Sena that we have known would, and if it was the real Sena, it would have come on the streets on Monday evening or Tuesday morning. But we didn't see that till yesterday. Whatever is happening today, even that is at very limited spaces, especially where these MLAs who have rebelled, they come from, or they hail from. You can see all this thing happening over there. It is a clear-cut indication that the Shiv Sena that used to be there, the Shiv Sena, the muscle power that Shiv Sena had, has somewhat, or to a larger extent, vanished, because their biggest muscle power, Eknath Shinde, is gone, and most of these MLAs have sided with him. You know, Rahul, today Uddhav and Aditya both held meetings. I just have one thing to say. Remote control functions only when the TV is functional. And the remote over here, its batteries have lost power. And all these things, they coming out and now holding meetings, they should have done it way before. They trying to reach their people now, the Senics now.
Well, third Sena rebel MLA has been targeted, at least his properties have been targeted. So I don't know, Kishore Tiwari, you seem to have no problems about this. And you are saying that ab log to aayenge, karenge, ab kya kare? You're in charge still. Have you forgotten, or are you today so besides yourself that you have a lame duck government? And are the people now going to be subjected to all of this?
No, let me clear. The whole this split has been engineered by the BJP, and
it doesn't matter, sir. The violence is not being engineered by the BJP. The violence is happening because of your own cadre. You are still in charge of law and order in the state because Uddhav Thackeray, in his wisdom, thinks he's still the chief minister, so he should apply the law.
Rahul, Varun says this is the tailor. What is the
I didn't say it is trailer. I'm saying it shows something of the Shiv Sena that itne din ke baad, sir, aapke log aa rahe. It is very much speaking about the Shiv Sena that is left. I do not endorse violence.
Varun. Now this challenge has come first time with the Uddhav Thackeray, and Uddhav Thackeray will emerge. And there are some genuine complaints of the MLAs.
How come first time? Ek second, Uddhav Thackeray was there, executive president, when Raj Thackeray left, Narayan Rane left. When he was there, he has seen all this. So it's not first time. Probably.
No, sir, Varun, let me speak. Varun, you are saying that we lost the strength. It is not the case. Uddhav Thackeray has gone beyond the. He has got his own mass base now, and Uddhav Thackeray will go throughout the Maharashtra, and we will see. The now the whole battle has gone on the illegal.
Well, okay, one second, Mr. Singh and Mr. Tiwari, one second. Let me just step in here. Look, viewers, as I've been saying over the last few days, Maharashtra is a critical state. It fits in at a very important place in the larger economic profile of this country. All these scenes, this free-for-all, this lame duck government is not good at a time as critical as this. The economy is just about picking up. There are headwinds very strong coming from Ukraine, inflation, several other threats to the economy. Maharashtra is the industrial heartland, Mumbai, financial capital, and look, there's nobody in charge. So either Uddhav goes, or those MLAs sitting in Guwahati come right back to Mumbai and sort things out. Can't have it both ways. Can't have it both ways, viewers. This impasse needs to end. We've now gone into some sort of a morass where there is nothing happening. One side is crying, the other side is threatening, another side is sitting in another part of the country, fanning the flames from the background. We don't know. And people are talking about Mahashakti. There is a problem here, viewers, serious problem. It's you and I that are going to suffer the most in this vacuum. I leave it to this. The news hour with Navika Kumar coming up.
The Shiv Sena, they're camping there under the leader, all three of whom denied to take them up on the offer. They had different reasons for it. Madhav Gopalakrishnan, senior editor, with me for more on this. Madhav, it looks like Yashwant Sinha is the consensus candidate now.
Well, yes, it is all but confirmed. Just a formal announcement is what is awaited at this point of time. And just a few moments from now, an opposition press conference is going to begin, where, in fact, a formal announcement is going to be made. Sharad Pawar, of course, chairing this meeting called by opposition leaders. Leaders of the Congress party, leaders of various other opposition parties, including the left, are present, and TMC also present at this meeting. The SP, the RJD, CPI, ML, the National Conference, amongst the parties that are present, along with the AIDF, the RSP, and other political parties. The NCP also present over here. The MIM also attending this meeting, as is the IUML. So we are expecting these 15 political parties and at this particular press conference to make the announcement of Mr. Yashwant Sinha formally as the opposition candidate as far as the presidential polls are concerned. So that formal announcement is expected in a few minutes from now, where in fact the formal announcement of who will be the opposition candidate, it will be Mr. Yashwant Sinha, is what's also indicating to us, and he was in fact expected to attend today's meeting over here as well.
Rahul, and good evening to all my esteemed panelists. Tanveer Bhai is a very dear friend, and I hope he won't interrupt me or mind my saying this, that if tomorrow he goes to a neurosurgeon for his brain surgery, is he going to tell the neurosurgeon कि डॉक्टर साहब यहाँ से नहीं यहाँ कट मारना, क्योंकि मुझे पता है. I am astonished when he says that he is telling you that Rahul, an able defense force officer, becomes able only after 7 to 8 years. So he means to say that our 3 chiefs of the armed forces do not know, but Tanveer knows कि भाई 8 साल में ही बढ़िया ऑफिसर बनता है, आर्मी या नेवी या एयरफोर्स का 4 साल में नहीं बनता है. But and the other thing, Rahul, the other day I gave you 7 reasons why I support Agneepath, and they're all logical and rational reasons. But one thing that people have to keep in mind, A, is what General Rawat said. This is not a Manrega employment guarantee scheme, and B, the armed forces are well within their rights, as is every organization, to have a 2-step or a 3-step or a 4-step selection process. They want the best of the best. If 100 people have been inducted, the defense forces are within their rights to say that, look, out of these 100, we have trained them for 4 years, and now the time has come for the second rung in the selection process. We want only 25 who are the best of the best amongst these hundreds. And the 75, there are ample opportunities for them. They have earned money, they have earned respect. They're only 21 to 22. They are going to be absorbed in a lot of other ancillary forces. But can I please come back to the topic, because I don't want to, my time to be eaten away in rebutting inanities. Rahul, the fact of the matter is that in trying to usher in any new reform, the Modi government is literally now having to walk on Agneepath. ये रिफॉर्म नहीं आसान, इतना तो समझ लीजिए, ये आग का दरिया है और डूब के जाना है, और डूब रहे हैं हम. But this is to be expected. Remember, when the opposition can orchestrate absolute mayhem and outrage over the farm reforms that they had promised in their own manifestos, what chance do those reforms have that aren't in their manifestos? It is very unfortunate that the excellent Agneepath scheme is being mocked by the Congress by uttering inanities like, if you wish to train as a barber or a washerman, then be...
Opposition's presidential candidate.
Come in, Agneepath. Has to be said though.
BJP, of course, is mulling a strategy as to what happens next. And what we are picking up from our sources is that it's a strategy to try and oust the Aghadi Sarkar. In fact, details which are now emerging exclusively here on Times Now, what we are picking up is that Sena is likely to skip the opposition meeting. That's just one of the many details which are coming in. In fact, BJP MLA has also reached the Surat resort. That's what we are picking up. And that is huge, because we just spoke to one of the BJP MLAs. They said that they have not been in touch with any of the rebels who are there in Surat. And now already a super scoop coming in that a BJP MLA has arrived there at the Surat resort. Let me go across to Amit Rajpur, who is joining us. Amit Rajpur, BJP तो बोल रही है कि हम कांटेक्ट में नहीं है किसी भी सेना के रेबल के साथ. अब वहां पर कोई BJP MLA पहुंच गए हैं? कौन पहुंचे हैं?
ये अभी जानकारी मिली है, और ये भाजपा के जो विधायक है महाराष्ट्र के संजय कुलथे, वो अभी इस होटल पे, जो सूरत की ये होटल है ले मेरिडियन, जहां पर महाआघाड़ी सरकार के जो बागी विधायक एकनाथ शिंदे के नेतृत्व में मौजूद हैं, वहां पर ये पहुंचे हैं मिलने के लिए. और आप देख सकते हैं विजुअल्स के अंदर कि ये महाराष्ट्र पासिंग की ये कार है, और उसके अंदर स्वयं जो भाजपा विधायक हैं वो वहां पे पहुंचे हैं. तो ये जिस तरह से जो बातें और अटकलें चल रही थी, तो उसके अंदर ये बात बिल्कुल स्पष्ट हो चुकी है कि अब जिस तरह से इस सूरत की होटल में बीजेपी के विधायक का आना, यानी एक बात ये है कि ये संजय कुलथे जो आए, क्या ये दूत बन के आए हैं, क्या बातचीत करने के लिए आए हैं, देवेंद्र फडणवीस से इशारे पे बात करने के लिए आए हैं, और क्या यहाँ पे आश्वासन लेके आए हैं? तो ये अब बड़ा जो मामला है बहुत ज्यादा रोचक हो गया है।
मगर जो रेबल्स है वो चाहते क्या है, वो बीजेपी से क्या मांग करेंगे और शिवसेना से क्या मांग करेंगे, का कोई इनसाइड ट्रैक?
देखिए, अभी जो जानकारी मिली है, एकनाथ शिंदे जो है, वो जो सूत्रों के हवाले से हमारे पास जो अभी खबर है कि एकनाथ शिंदे का मन ये है कि कांग्रेस और एनसीपी के साथ जो है उनका नाता तोड़ दिया जाए और बीजेपी के साथ मिलकर सरकार बनाई जाए। ये सूत्रों के हवाले से ये जानकारी हमारे पास है। इस खबर को अभी औपचारिक
रिश्ता और अनुभव महाराष्ट्र के साथ रहा है। शुरुआत से ही ये गठबंधन जो बनी है अघाड़ी की, ये अपने आप में ही विचलित हो चुकी है। ना सिद्धांत है, ना विचारधारा है।
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. The Supreme Court has put an end to the propaganda and lies that have been spread for the last 2 decades to cast aspersions on the exoneration of Prime Minister Modi in the Gujarat riot case. The Supreme Court came down heavily on the petitioner Zakia Jafri, wife of Ehsan Jafri. In fact, the Supreme Court said in a strong-worded observation in the judgment that the submission is devoid of merits and filed to keep the pot boiling for ulterior designs. The Supreme Court also asserted that the appeal was replete with falsehood and hinted that it was filed under the dictation of someone. It sent out a strong message saying that all those involved in such abuse of process of justice need to be in the dock. The Supreme Court couldn't have got clearer than that. Remember, the opposition has launched a tirade against Prime Minister Modi since his days as the Chief Minister. They branded him Bhasmasur, Maut ka Saudagar, Dangewala and many other epithets that have been used. But what they conveniently ignore is the clean chit by the probing agencies and the courts. The SIT had maintained that no criminal case is made out against Modi and that he was busy controlling the situation to restore peace in the state of Gujarat. The trial court stated that no need to probe matter from a larger conspiracy angle. The Gujarat High Court also quashed the larger conspiracy theory behind the 2002 Gujarat riots. Armed with the court's observations, the BJP rained fire on the anti-PM ecosystem for trying to script fix Modi plot. Listen in.
मेरे आराध्य परम पूज्य श्री जी 2-3 बातें कहते थे सत्य के बारे में। एक बात उनकी जो वाणी है वो फिट बैठती है कि सत्य को प्रमाण की नहीं प्रणाम की आवश्यकता है। उच्चतम न्यायालय के इस फैसले का मैं स्वागत करता हूं और अभिनंदन करता हूं और मैं मानता हूं कि ये बिल्कुल उचित फैसला है।
बहुत लोग कोशिश किए पीएम के ऊपर काला पेंट लगाने के लिए। हम स्वागत करता हूं। शुद्ध स्वर्ण के जैसे पीएम ने बाहर आया, हम स्वागत करता हूं।
See, it's the apex court, the highest court of the country, and they go by evidences. And if they found that the case was wrong, and I think we should all respect the judgment of the Supreme Court. There's nothing beyond that.
मैं इस निर्णय का स्वागत करता हूं और सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने कहा कि ये जो है ये प्ली जो है सुनने लायक ही नहीं है, तो स्वाभाविक रूप से ये स्वागत योग्य है और सच्चाई की जीत होती है और अब की बार भी हुई है और मैं आदरणीय प्रधानमंत्री जी को बधाई देता हूं और इस निर्णय का स्वागत करता हूं।
प्रधानमंत्री जी ने हमेशा साफ नियत से काम किया है और वो हर क्षेत्रों में उन्होंने जो भी काम किए हैं देश की जनता के लिए किया है, ऐसे लोगों के लिए किया है जो समाज में छूट गए हैं, पीछे रह गए हैं, समाज के अंतिम छोर पर खड़े हैं और हर क्षेत्र में उनको विजय।
But the Congress party is still unimpressed, claiming that the SIT was forced to give a clean chit to Modi. Listen in.
I'm very perturbed and very sad. And I can say that there was no person, namely Hassan Jafri, there was no killing